All right, guys, so we're going to start with the author's purpose and author's point of view for the story that we read yesterday, which is I Am an American, a true story of Japanese internment. So click on that one first, author's purpose and author's point of view. All right, let's start with the video.
I would say to the House, as I have said to those who have joined this government, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
Winston Churchill, blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
That's good, but...
Oh, give me another one.
Wait, Christina, this isn't a quiz. I'm trying to talk about the author's purpose.
Oh, well, I can help with that. Author's purpose is the intention of the writer.
So what is the purpose for writing? What is the intention of the writer?
So in the case of blood, toil, tears, and sweat, Churchill's intention is to
get the British Parliament to declare its confidence in its government.
You know, we're not on a game show, right?
But if we were, I'd be doing pretty well, wouldn't I? Right?
Generally, authors write to entertain readers, describe or explain something, or persuade readers of their argument.
Or some combination of those purposes.
In order to figure out the author's purpose, readers have to look for clues.
Clues to an author's purpose can be found in the genre, title, subject, imagery, or word choice.
Sometimes an author's purpose is pretty obvious.
As in blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Speeches in general, in fact.
Yeah.
And advertisements and persuasive essays.
But with fiction or poetry, you might have to look a little deeper.
I'm up for it.
She's up for it.
How about Poe?
As in Edgar Allan, the author of such haunting classics as The Raven and The Pit and the Pendulum?
Exactly, and you said it. Edgar Allan Poe writes to haunt us. That's his purpose.
Whereas a writer like Ben Franklin might be writing to educate us.
And Mark Twain wants to make us laugh.
Point is, authors write for a variety of reasons, from entertaining us to convincing us of their argument. Recognizing the author's purpose gives us readers a focus for reading.
And focus is good, right? Because otherwise reading is just like manga. Should we summarize?
The intention of the writer. Genre, title, and word choice can all reveal the author's purpose. All right. Let's see. Okay, so when we go to your turn, it says read this section from Chapter 2 of I Am an American, a true story of Japanese internment to determine the point of view of the author, Jerry Stanley, and answer the follow-up questions. So we want to figure out what is the purpose or the point of view. What is Jerry Stanley, the author, what is his stance on this, or what is he intending for us to get out of this information? With no personal knowledge of the Japanese living in America, President Franklin D. Roosevelt yielded to pressure from the California hotheads, the media, and the military. On February 19, 1942, Roosevelt signed the Executive Order number 9066, which gave the military the authority to remove enemy aliens and anyone else suspected of disloyalty. Although the document never mentioned the Japanese by name, it was understood that the order was meant for them alone. All right, so part A. What is Stanley's point of view toward President Roosevelt? So the way that he portrays President Roosevelt in this, what do you think was his point of view? He has a positive view of Roosevelt because the president listened to the ideas of others before making a decision. B, he has a positive view of Roosevelt because the president signed the executive order. C, he has a negative view of Roosevelt because the president acted on the ideas of others rather than his own. Or D, he has a negative view of Roosevelt because the president did not mention the Japanese by name in the order. So let's read that last section again. It says, With no personal knowledge of the Japanese living in America, President Franklin D. Roosevelt yielded to pressure from the California hotheads, the media, and the military. And then he gave this order to remove enemy aliens. So basically what it's saying is Franklin D. Roosevelt didn't know Japanese people that were living in America in person, but he went ahead and decided to sign this executive order because of all the pressure from the people in California that had a lot of money and power, the media and the military, instead of maybe taking a different route. So I would say that these are most likely, you first have to decide, is it positive or negative? So think of the words like hothead, yielded to pressure, no personal knowledge of the Japanese. So is he creating a positive image or a negative image? So once you narrow it down to either positive or negative, which one is most supported by the text? Okay. So I want you guys to think about that. If it's positive or negative view of Roosevelt, and then which one is supported by the text. Part B, which quotation from the passage supports your answer in part A? The media and the military. B, document never mentioned the Japanese by name. C, on February 19th, 1942, Roosevelt signed Executive Order number 9066, or D, yielded to pressure from California hotheads. So which one of these statements helped to either paint him in a positive or a negative light? And what words show that he is either acted on the ideas of others rather than his own, or that he did not mention the Japanese by name in the order, or that Roosevelt, it has a positive view of Roosevelt because the president signed the order, or that there's a positive view of Roosevelt because the president listened to the ideas of others before making a decision. All right, so which one supports your answer in the first part? So do a process of elimination, figure out which ones have nothing to do with your answer, and then choose between the two that are, then narrow it down to two, and then pick the one that has the most support or the most relation, maybe some similar words in the text. All right, so once you've done that, double check, look it over again, and then you may submit your assignment. All right, so then we're going to go, after you've done that, we're going to go to our second skill, which is media. I Am an American, a true story of Japanese internment. So we've talked about media before, where media is the way that the information is presented. So we might have something on the internet, we might have a movie, we might have a poem, we might have a novel, we might have a piece of artwork. So the way that a piece of information is presented can determine how we interpret it or how we get the information. It might like make us feel one way or the other.
What do a photograph, a tweet, a movie trailer, and a slideshow all have in common?
You got me.
They're all forms of media.
Media? Oh, I get it. Maybe it was just the delivery.
But no, it's not a joke. Check it out. Media, a method of communication. For all of time, humans have communicated in three ways: in person, in writing, and through drawings.
And today, new forms of media pop up every year. Each medium has its own language, form, and audience experience.
Which means that the same story or idea will change from medium to medium.
And once you identify the genre, pay close attention to the details.
Whether you're reading a text or analyzing a painting, details always matter.
Okay, so before we summarize, I've got this joke. Okay, so a kid asks his mom, do I get in trouble for something I didn't do? And the mom says, of course not. And
I think we should just summarize.
Okay. And then the kid says, good, because I didn't do my homework.
All right. Let's see. There's a video on here, I think, that I wanted to show you guys. All right, so this is an interview with someone who actually went to an internment camp.
Japanese Americans in internment.
Oops.
And just, try to focus on me instead of the camera and
Yeah.
everything. All right, it's the 26th of August, 2009. This is Tommy Lofton. I'm up in Gig Harbor, Washington. If you would, sir, can you give me your name for the camera?
I'm Jimmy Kanaya.
All right. And Mr. Kanaya, can you tell me a little bit, before we really get into the war, can you tell me a little bit about where you were born and where you grew up and about your life before the war?
I was born in Clackamas, Oregon in 1920 and grew up on a truck farm, working from dawn to dusk, and besides going to school between 8 to 3:30 or so. And I experienced the Depression years of early 30s, and I had one older sister and one younger brother. I grew up along the same with the same experience, and so I can say one thing, that during the years of the Depression, food was hard to get, but we had plenty to eat. As far as I was concerned, I never went hungry, but we had to really work for it on the farm
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
to go through a physical. I had to be physically in shape, my uniform. And boy, I was proud of that uniform. That first day on uniform, I walked down the street from Presidio Monterey downtown, and of course, it was all, nobody was around anyway. Looked in the shop stores, nothing, and then walked back up, and that was my first day. But it must have been about the 10th or 12th of April of 1941. And from there, we were processed out of there at Monterey, and we went to, some of us went to Hamilton Field, north of San Francisco. It's an air base, Army Air Corps base. And I thought, boy, I'm going to be in the Army Air Corps, because I wanted to be a mechanic, work on airplanes. And well, we were in the basic training, and our drill instructor was a sergeant who was waiting for his turn to go to the air mechanic training school, and he was telling us all about the training and that he was expected to work on propeller planes. No, about less than halfway through basic training. It's been about maybe 8 weeks, 7, 8 weeks of training. They pulled about 3 or 4 of us out of the training cadre, training squadron, and they say, "You're now medics. You're going to go to Santa Barbara, California, at the Hoff General Hospital. Hoff General Hospital, a brand new cantonment hospital that they're building in Santa Barbara." I said, "Oh, well, you can't deny that. You can't say I don't want to go." so there I went, and that was my first experience working in a hospital. Never had any training, even to bathe patients, and how to. Once was a pretty good jump. Double and triple your pay.
Sorry.
About a block to walk, so I'll let them go. On 1st of February 1943, was activation date. Cold and miserable, and the pot-bellied stove that wouldn't burn. The first large group of filler personnel came. Raw recruits came from Hawaii. See, they had more than their allocated number. They only.
Sorry, guys, I got the time wrong on this. Let me see what time we're supposed to go to. 34 minutes and 23 seconds. Okay. Let's see. 30.
The first group only had about 1,100, but over 10,000.
34 minutes.
And Ford, pretty new, and it must have been worth about $600, $700. They paid $900 for it, about a year earlier. But they only got $400 for it. And on the day of moving into the assembly center, which was converted stockyards, Portland stockyards.
Here, let me rewind this a little bit. Okay, so he's talking about when their family had to move to the internment camps, and his dad had to sell his car, his really nice car, he was hoping to get 600, but he only got like 400 for it.
Executive order was implemented. Everybody got a notice. I'd say, well, they were saying under the breath that they'll never try to evacuate everybody. That'll never happen. But when the evacuation news was announced, and they were given about 1 week notice, so people should have been packing and preparing and closing their accounts and so forth. But when that time came, I was stationed at Camp Flutter at the time. Yeah, I got about 10-day pass to catch the bus and go back and help my parents pack up and move. But they had most of the packing done when I got there, but then I had to help my father sell the car. He had a '39 Ford, and pretty new, and it must have been worth about $600, $700, because he paid $900 for it, about a year earlier. But he only got $400 for it. And on the day of moving into the assembly center, which was converted stockyards, Portland stockyards, they had converted the stockyards into barn, into stalls, and they still had hay and manure on the floor, horse manure. And they put I don't know how many thousand people in that little stockyard, all fenced in. So I walked right in with my parents, and here I was in uniform and guarded by most of the MPs with rifle and bayonets, and I walked right in, and I couldn't go very far. I was about halfway into the stall area when the big MP Lieutenant Colonel came and grabbed me by the shoulder. Hey, he says, "You don't belong here. He said, come with me." So before I can even say goodbye to my parents and brother and sister, he put me in the office and said, "No, I'm gonna give you a sedan to take you into town, and you get out first opportunity, and you give me a call when you get ready to go. She'll take me to the USO." Says, "Okay."
So basically, he was in the military, and his family was being shipped off to these stockyards where they had to be kept in, like, where the animals would be kept, and it wasn't even cleaned or anything. So he was helping his family move, but they wouldn't even like let him say goodbye or anything like that. So anyway, that was just to give you guys a little bit more insight into what it was like. Sorry for the choppy video. Okay, so let's go to the question now. It says, reread paragraph 3 from I Am an American, a true story of Japanese internment below, and view the portion of the video. Okay, so I should have just clicked on that link. That would have been way easier. At first, the demonstration brought pledges of support from government officials, and Japanese internment seemed unlikely. California Congressman Leland Ford said, "These people are American born. This is their country." United States Attorney General Francis Biddle declared, "At no time will the government engage in wholesale condemnation of any alien group." So for part A, which best states the early position of the U.S. government concerning Japanese American internment as described in the text? A, the government indicated that Japanese American internment would not occur. B, the government was divided on the issue of Japanese American internment. C, the government believed Japanese internment was a necessity. Or D, the government argued throughout the war against any form of internment for any residents of the U.S. So let's read it one more time. At first, the demonstrations of loyalty brought pledges of support from government officials, and Japanese internment seemed unlikely. California Congressman Leland Ford said, "These people are American born. This is their country." United States Attorney General Francis Biddle declared, "At no time will the government engage in wholesale condemnation of any alien group." So think about what we just read, and then reread your choices and select what you think is the best answer. Then for part B, which line from the video best supports the Japanese American perspective on the government position you chose in part A? 906 proclamation executive order was implemented. B, everybody got noticed. C, saying under the breath that they'd never try to evacuate everybody. That'll never happen. Or D, people should have been packing and preparing and closing their accounts and so forth. So which of these phrases supports your answer in part A? If you want to rewatch the video, you can click on that link to just watch that portion of the video. It's only like 30 seconds or so. Okay. But we did hear most of these parts. All right. So make your best choice on the second part. Good luck. And then if you guys have anything still that you're wondering about, you can ask me tomorrow in class. All right. And then the other thing you need to do today is work on your book report. So if you need to finish reading your book or work on your t-shirt, anything like that, that's your other ELA. And of course, finish your spelling packet and study for your test tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. Thursday. Okay. Bye.